To make sure we are live. I'm looking for some public comments on the side here. So if you are hearing my voice or seeing my face, or hopefully both, please say hello so I know we're actually doing this live. Wait for it. I do this at the beginning of every episode, and then eventually I just start because I just assume we're moving. I will do this. Welcome to Reverb's Quarantine Kitchen. This is season 2. I'm your host, Adam Gardner of the band Guster, and also co-founder and co-executive director of the nonprofit environmental organization REVERB. We started this thing during quarantine when live music wasn't happening, and we started it last year, and as a way to just bring a piece of reverb to everyone's homes while we were all kind of stuck in the house. Obviously, things are changing, things are shifting. We're even going to change the name of this show, I think, for the next episode. But in the meantime, we're still calling it Quarantine Kitchen, and it's the same program as it's been. We're in our 20s now for episodes, which is great, but this is episode 4 of season 2. And this show is all about musicians, celebrities, and other interesting folks cooking their favorite sustainable recipes from their own kitchens, because why not? And again, we normally we're doing this instead of being out on the road. We're very excited to announce that we will be going back out on tours and greening them and engaging fans to take action for the environment. Some of the tours that we're going out this summer have already been announced, like Dave Matthews Band, Tame Impala, Dead and Company will be at Lollapalooza as well, and many more that are being announced every day. So super excited about the return of music, but we're having so much fun with this show, we figured we'd just keep that going too, because why not? So please welcome for episode 4, Al Schnier from the band Mo. Al, are you there?
How are you doing, Adam?
Hey! Good to see you, Al. Apparently you can't see me, but I can see you.
Well, it's good to hear your voice.
I like that I'm this voice like up in your ceiling, like I am the voice of sustainable cooking.
That's it. There's always a voice inside my head when I'm doing this anyway. I just never really sort of pictured it as yours, but going forward, welcome to the party.
No, I never pictured the voice from on high being mine either, Al. So listen, you're cooking. I forgot to mention what you're cooking. Will you tell the fine folks who are following along what you are cooking for us this evening?
Sure. So I'm going to be making a Korean-themed burger tonight, and we put a few spins on it. There was in all transparency, like most great recipes, you find them someplace else. And this one we found somewhere along the way, I believe from the New York Times. And then you tweak it, you kind of make it your own. It's sort of like like being a musician. You find a great song and then you cover it and you kind of make it your own. And so in this case, we're using the Impossible ground. Which is plant-based, and added a few other tweaks like the kimchi and the fried egg and things like that to even make it a little more authentically Korean, I guess.
That's awesome. Have you cooked with Impossible before?
I have.
Awesome.
We use it all of the time. So we have one of our quarantine discoveries was the air fryer, and I started making meatballs using the Impossible ground to make like an Italian meatball recipe, and I make them in the air fryer all the time.
That's awesome. I think that
was my first thought. Is I thought maybe I would do that, especially as things are starting to, the basil is like doing so well in the garden right now, but we don't have any tomatoes, and I like to make a fresh sauce, and so it's like, maybe next time.
Awesome. Well, I love Korean-inspired food, so I'm excited about this one. I think we should probably get started because it sounds like your recipe is pretty involved. For those who are following along, we are looking at your comments. So if you have any questions, I'll be peppering you, Al, with questions as you're cooking as well. But okay. I will also be keeping an eye on the public comments here in case folks want to chime in and have questions. I have a question for the public who are watching right now for them to chime in. We are changing the name of the show after this episode because we are coming out of quarantine and hopefully staying there. So for anyone who has an idea of what we should rename it, we have simple ideas like just calling it Reverb's Kitchen and just crossing out quarantine. But if anyone else has any ideas, please feel free to comment. Otherwise, ask any questions of Al or myself as we go. So how do we start this thing, Al? And the recipe is also online. And actually, Chris, I think, or Hannah already put it in the comments for those who are following along.
Yeah. So, and this is, another thing too, because I've added the fried egg, and I'm not going to do mine on buns just because we haven't been eating a lot of bread. And like this lettuce came from our garden, and the lettuce, it's doing so well right now that I would just rather use use that as our bun. And it's like this. It's been so. We're eating it several times a day. So first things first, just start the oven, get the broiler going, get that hot. And I don't even know if I set a temperature here, but it should be, like 525. Just make sure your broiler's on and get that going.
So, Al, you mentioned before we went live that you have big thunderstorms and lightning coming in and worried about power. We just had a huge thunderbolt hit here, so we'll have to see what happens here. If suddenly we are offline, we'll know why, or that's now we'll know.
Yeah, and if need be, like I said, I'll either jump on my phone or something, or we can finish this with a ticker tape machine if we have to. Okay. All right. So now the broiler's going. So one of the things that, again, this kind of made the recipe great was, rather than just putting traditional pickles on it, you're going to actually make fresh pickles, but like with a sesame oil, and it just, again, adds some fantastic flavor to it. And so I'm just using regular toasted sesame oil this time. However, I will tell you, last time we didn't have any. I mean, we normally just have it in the house, and so I improvised, and I still have a little bit of it here. I just wanted to show you. I made my own toasted sesame oil by actually toasting the sesame seeds. I think I used. We had some plain sesame oil, and it smells so good. It's fantastic. So I highly recommend just trying that as an experiment someday if you have the time. Okay, so prepping the pickles. So in the bowl, you're just going to combine vinegar, half a teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of sugar, and that's going to be kind of your base for this thing. We're going to hold off on the sesame oil for just a bit. I'll get going with that. And as far as your sugar goes, I recommend some whole cane sugar. I try to buy everything organically if we can. Not only is it better for you, but it's better for the planet. It's better for our farmers. It's just better. So just do it.
That's it, Al. You're nailing this. I'm going to plug Oxfam America's resource for Eat for Good. It's oxfamamerica.org/eat4good. And it's all the things you're talking about, Al, and more. So for those who are watching now, check that out if you want to make sure you're eating as well as you can for yourselves and for the planet.
Awesome. And then vinegar. And the vinegar was 2 teaspoons. And I'm using a rice vinegar, again, just to keep it a little more Asian flavored. But any lighter vinegar will do in this case. You just don't want to use balsam, I guess, or something really heavy. Although it would probably be very tasty. Now, I probably already took out. There it is. My trusty whisk, which I use for everything.
Have you been cooking a lot? Have you been cooking? Do you normally cook for the family? And also, addendum to that is, have you been cooking more than usual because of not being on the road?
Yes to both. The quarantine, kept us indoors. So, I've cooked for years. I became a vegetarian when I was 13. My mom insisted that I do all my own cooking, which was great for me. I'm no longer strictly vegetarian, but I still really enjoy cooking. And with COVID, I found that we weren't going out anymore. And as much as I love eating out and supporting our local restaurants, we're now cooking 3 meals a day, 24/7 for a year and a half straight.
Amazing. And you've got kids at home too, right?
No longer at home. Kids are out at this point. My son just graduated from UVM last year. And
oh, wow.
My daughter Ayla is a senior at St. Lawrence, and so we have 2 miniature schnauzers at home, and that's about as. But I don't cook for them. All right. And so now you're going to add your cucumbers to the mix here. And I tend to cut these on the bias just to make it a little bit of a bigger cut here. We'll get that going. I wish I could say these came from the garden, but we don't have cucumbers yet.
What else? What are you growing in your garden besides lettuce?
So in our raised bed, we have lettuces and herbs, and in our traditional garden, we have a variety of tomatoes, peppers, and cucumbers. And then in a bunch of pots all around our back door, basically right out the deck is where we put all of the herbs, so that we can just walk out the door and we have, a little bit of everything from, basil, thyme, sage, cilantro, kind of everything growing out there. And we have a few other things that are just planted year round, like mint and some other sage and thyme and things like that. And they come back every year, which is fantastic.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
There is a question from the comments here. The question is from Voravut. Mo is an extreme touring band like Guster. What have you done to survive all this time off the road?
To survive off the road?
Yes.
Well, you're looking at it. I had a lot of downtime at home and found some sanity in the kitchen. And to be honest, I mean, after 30 years of touring, which is, always kind of it's always being on the go. So even if you're coming home from a tour, you're unpacking and then, repacking or, rehearsing or getting ready for the next thing. And I came home and I didn't have one of those. And it was the first time I got to stay put for over a year and just sort of settle into being home with my family and my dogs in my neighborhood. And it was wonderful.
Yeah.
I love my band and I love playing music, but that thing was actually like a really welcome change.
Yeah, I feel similarly. I do look forward to getting back out there. And it looks like I went on your website. It looks like you've already played some shows, which is great. So you've already gotten back out there. Has the transition been strange as far as getting back together and playing? And sounds like you have some touring coming up too. And I know I don't know exactly what you've been up to, but
yeah, no, it's it was a little bit surreal at first, but then when we've been together for 30 years, and so we just sort of fell right back into
totally
being together, which was great, and everybody really, it's really enjoyable. Just like I'm sure everybody's finding right now when you go out to eat for the first time or get to hang out with friends without masks on for the first time or hug people, and it's like there's so much of that it's just been a lot of joy.
That's awesome.
Rob, our bass player, who actually lives in the Portland area, said that he almost started crying on stage that first show that we did. Just overwhelmed with joy. Yeah,
I felt similarly. I think especially because we've been touring about the same amount of time as you all. I think not quite as long, but there's also something about like that home base. Like when you're on stage, like everything's exactly in the spot that you wanted. It's all been like taped down to the floor. So it's like you're really settling back into something that is very much.
You have your rug with your little space.
Exactly. So it's like my pedal board's exactly where it always has been forever. And my mic stand's exactly where I need it. And I got my pick, everything's exactly in the place that you want it. And we've been sort of displaced from that. That's home base, I think especially for touring bands like yours and mine, where it's just like, it was the first time I felt normal.
Right.
Since the shutdown. It was really emotional. Yeah. I saw you guys played the caves in the caverns in Pelham. We've done that gig too. How fun was that?
Well, so it's interesting. We played. We actually did it above ground. They have a whole outdoor venue set up now.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So it
was that a COVID thing, or they just added to the whole venue? It
started as a COVID thing, but now they've enjoyed what they've sort of created. It was a sort of a happy accident. They're going to they're going to leave this outdoor amphitheater space there, and do both, have indoor and outdoor.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna move.
No, keep going. That's good. Keep us on track, Al.
I will. I'm just gonna move along to the marinade quickly. And so the marinade is is a soy sauce based marinade. And more often than not, when I'm cooking with soy sauce, I sub in coconut aminos. It's just a lighter alternative, and it's good for you. There's way less salt in it for sure. So and you may find that you want to add some sodium back into the recipe later. It's just always where I start. So just that as a caveat, I guess. And one other thing that I wanted to add here. Oh, two things actually. So I'm gonna be putting in some scallions. And again, these are from the garden. This thing about the garlic. It blew my mind, and I'm gonna show you. I don't know if you know about. I'll show you. I've already removed the germ from these other cloves, but when you're using fresh garlic, there is something that is called the germ, which is just the sprout. This is the little green part inside of the garlic. If you don't know, take it out. It's the thing that gives the garlic its bite, and it's not really like the pleasant part of the garlic. It's not the tasty, it's the sharpness of it. And if you slice your garlic in half and just remove that little guy, it makes the garlic way more enjoyable, especially when you're using raw garlic like that.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
I think my puppy's getting nervous with the thunder, so he's in my lap right now. I know you can't see me, but he's a cute puppy and he's in my lap.
That's fantastic.
I think this is his first big thunderstorm.
Oh no.
Yeah.
What kind of dog is he?
He is an Australian mini Labradoodle.
Oh, that must be very cute.
He's a sweet little guy. Bernie Ginsberg Sullivan Gardner is his name. He's a Jewish activist puppy.
Perfect. As he should be. I wouldn't expect anything else. Okay. And the cool thing about the marinade is we're going to mix a portion of this in with the Impossible ground, and it gives it some great flavor. So we have soy sauce, scallions, garlic. I'm just going to add some pepper to this as well.
So for those following along, we are, I think, step 3, right? Prep the marinade.
This is step 3 of putting the marinade. That's right. And now to prep the burgers, we're going to take... so is sort of a combined step, okay? So part of this is getting your mayo ready, which is going to be the condiment for the burgers. So it recommends half a cup of mayo to a tablespoon of the marinade. And again, you're just gonna make this in a separate bowl, which I should have prepared in advance. And it's just a great add-on. I like to improvise, and as much as I've made measurements for you all, I'm going to call that a half a cup, just because it's easier sometimes, and it's also how I tend to cook most of the time.
Well, you're talking about improvisation, and there's an easy parallel in music to this, especially with your band. How about, would you say, what percentage of your set is improvisational versus, pre-written material? You could guess. Obviously, it varies, I'm sure, night to night, but generally speaking, what would you say?
About a third, maybe.
Wow. All right.
Of total runtime. There's a good chunk of it. What we tend to do is we sort of build a framework. So let's just say there's a recipe for the thing, but then we leave room in there all of the time for the jams, for those extended segues or segments in between. So it gives us that space. It gives the show some space, and it's what we've come to sort of expect from a show, and our fans have too.
Is it something where you're like, okay, this is the moment where we let it be open, or does somebody give a look and then it's like, oh, we're in this improv zone? Like, how do you know when you're off script, so to speak?
There are a lot of it is just from a history that we have together. But you'll know. I mean, look. So like whoever writes a set list, say we'll put 6 songs in the second set. We'll rehearse through a bunch of those songs during sound check, but then we have a pre-show meeting, which is kind of like going over like all of our plays, and we will discuss all of that. Okay, when we play song A and then we're gonna jam into song B, we need to all be on the same page. So let's follow Chuck's lead out of song A, for example, and then look for this marker down the road. It'll be on, let's say, on our drummer Vinny's cue. So everybody just heads up, that's the plan. See you when we get there. But then the 10 minutes in between is just open to us just being musicians and brothers, and and you hope it goes well.
That's amazing. That is so foreign from what we do. It's amazing to me, and it's so impressive because I don't understand that world. Well, and it takes a lot of guts, right? Because you're walking a tightrope in front of your audience, and that's what the excitement is, I'm sure, from their end, is they know when you're off into improv zone, and it's exciting to see what happens. And I imagine it's somewhat similar to improv comedy, where everything, like if you land it, it's amazing because right. that it was spontaneous, as opposed to something that was premeditated and pre-written and designed to land.
That's it, and that's what makes it exciting. I think that's it's in the sort of the thrill of that chase, the excitement of that ride that keeps us all coming back. We do put a lot of emphasis on our songwriting. There's a good chunk of our shows that are just succinct 4-minute songs because we love well-written rock songs. Want that's important to us. But we also know how to write a song for Mo that can have those platforms or jumping off points. So we do a little bit of both.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and that was the thing that that I discovered about the Grateful Dead, for example, that I fell in love with as a kid. Chasing that sort of thing when the music was just wide open, and you're like, I want to go back again and see them do that tomorrow.
Right. That's amazing.
So, all right. So I'm working on the burgers at the moment. So I've put, I'm going off script. I'm improvising here.
This is it. You're in the jam zone right now. You're jamming.
So I had initially put down that I was going to do a pound of the Impossible with my recipe, but because they are 12-ounce packages, we're doing 1.5 pounds, and it's okay. It'll come out great. So I've added that to my bowl, and we're going to mix in 2 tablespoons of our marinade. Your marinade should look something like this. We're going to mix that in together and just mix that through, and then we're going to create the patties, get those in the oven. We're going to be well on our way. Actually, since I have this, I'm going to put in a little bit more. Okay. And doesn't hurt to rinse. And here we go. And it's kind of like when you're making meatballs. You don't want to kill it. You don't have to overdo this. You just want to make sure it's mixed through enough. And this, it tends to, like adding all the marinade to the Impossible, I found, it really softens it up. It gets pretty liquidy. So we don't have to go crazy with it. Okay. And so now we're going to make 6 smallish patties. I'm going to move this over here. And I've already gotten my tray ready. Here's a tip in the kitchen if you don't know. Step away from aluminum foil and try parchment paper. It's again, it's good for the environment and it's good for you. Parchment paper will hold up in the oven, and it's an easy easy to use replacement.
It's great, and it sticks even less, right? It's
It
more
does.
nonstick. Yeah.
Yeah.
We had, as part of an early episode of Quarantine Kitchen, Tom Papa, the comedian, came on and taught us how to make sourdough bread.
Oh, cool.
And parchment paper is obviously a big part of keeping that from sticking to the bottom of your Dutch oven.
Yeah.
So definitely been using a lot of that. This is a good, while you're massaging the Impossible meat, it's probably a good time for us to plug Impossible. They are a sponsor of this series of this season, of season 2. So we want to say thank you to Impossible Foods. They're incredible. Plant-based options are always the more sustainable option. We love that they offer a tasty alternative where you're not sacrificing anything by using their plant-based meats. But it's amazing. Like, one of the stats that I love just constantly repeating on this is that the world's food supply chain accounts for 26% of global greenhouse gas emissions, and about half of those result from livestock production. So if we can, if there's like one thing that we can all do as individuals that would have major impact on fighting the climate crisis, it would be switching our meals to more plant-based diets.
Yeah.
Look,
you don't have to go all in. That's the thing. Just if you make a conscious effort to do it occasionally and make it part of your diet, it will have an impact, just like everything else. It's interesting. We just did a nice drive through from the Thousand Islands through upstate New York. When you pass by all these farms and you see and smell, kind of all of the waste that's being generated, it really gives you some perspective on it.
It's crazy. Some other fun stats that I'm just going to rattle off. If the average American cut just 1/4 pound of beef a week from their diet, it'd be the equivalent of taking 10 million cars off the road for a year. 10 million cars.
See, again, just 1/4 pound.
That's it. 1/4 pound a week. So yeah, and again, thanks to Impossible, the stuff's delicious. Like, you don't miss anything. It's funny. My son who's vegan, and he's younger. He's 10. He chose to be vegan mostly because meat, just the concept of it, grosses him out. Impossible. He constantly asks, are you sure? I'm like, yes. It's okay.
It does seem impossible. It's delicious. It's funny because I know a lot of hardcore meat eaters who have been converted and choose these products, which is fantastic.
And it's crucial. I mean, we all, we started this. We just launched a major campaign now that I want to talk to you offline about, called Music Climate Revolution, in the beginning of June. And it's all about bringing together all of music to fight the climate crisis. And it's not just us as individuals and as music fans, but as an industry and what we can be doing and making music climate positive, which means eliminating more greenhouse gas pollution than we create as an industry and as a community. And it's already off to a really good start. So we're very excited about that. For those who are not part of that or want to check it out that are listening right now, please go to musicclimaterevolution.org. And awesome. You can take actions there and all sorts of good stuff. Back to your recipe. Let's get back on it.
Back to the recipe. Okay. So it's going to start to get crazy because once these go in the oven, it's go time, and you can't pump the brakes there, right? So before we put them in the oven, I'm just going to talk you through it very quickly. Okay. So what we're going to do is just take the remaining marinade, brush it on the burgers. They go into the oven, and it literally takes about 4 minutes for them to kind of cook as much as they need to. And then you can add your cheese if you're going to use cheese. I am going to use a vegan cheese product made by Miyokos and do something a little bit different. I think with the Korean thing, you probably want to go with a milder cheese. But again, it's your recipe. Improvise. See what you think might fit. Or go with no cheese. It's so flavorful, it really doesn't need it, but it sort of helps to tie the room together.
Is that a Lebowski reference right there? It feels like it is.
So, and this is the other thing. While the burgers are in the oven, I'm also then going to fry the eggs that will ultimately be put on the burger. Okay?
Love it.
And finish the cucumbers. You know what? In fact, I'm going to do that at this point because I'm not going to have time to move around. So all I'm doing off screen over here, which you can't see because my sink is, you know, I'm telling you, I'm just dumping off the sugar and vinegar that they were sitting in. And then you're going to add the sesame oil to the, I think, I'm going to go back just for the quantity that we're laid out here. It's 2.5 teaspoons of the sesame oil that are going on the cucumbers, and that's aminos. Don't do what I just did. Feel like I'm under pressure. Yeah.
No pressure. This is all very relaxed and in real time. This is all entertainment. In fact, actually, the more pressure you feel, the more stress you feel, the more entertaining.
That was like the equivalent of like the change coming up, and then you go nail it with authority, and you played the E chord instead of the A chord, and you're like, you try to walk it back.
Strong and wrong is our attitude with that one.
Yeah.
Better than shyly hitting it wrong.
Right. Okay. So now we got the sesame oil in here, and they smell amazing. It's great. And this is way more than you're going to need for the recipe. So they just get to go in the fridge, and you get to eat them all week on all kinds of things. This is great. Okay, so we've got our mayo with the marinade in it. We've got our cucumbers. I've pulled aside a few tomatoes that I'm not going to juggle, but I will slice. And just get those ready so we can plate this whole thing hot when it comes out.
Now, I'm looking at the recipe. Are you replacing the kimchi with pickles, or is that?
No. Oh, so let's talk about the kimchi. I'm glad you brought that up. No. The pickles are part of the recipe, and the kimchi is also going on. And I happen to have some here that I made. And I think we included that as well, right?
You did. You called it emergency kimchi.
This is the emergency kimchi. So it does, and the great thing about this is it doesn't need to. Although I made mine before the weekend because we took it with us for the weekend, and I wanted it for something else that I was making to eat. However, this doesn't need to ferment. That's the emergency factor here, and it's again, it tastes and smells delicious. It was super quick and easy to make. I happen to have a head of Napa cabbage in the fridge, and I was like, I'm just going to whip this up quickly. So that recipe is also included. Very simple and easy to make with most of the things you probably already have at home, and will be a great topping again for the burger.
Awesome.
Okay, so back to our burgers. Can we see what I'm doing? I know I whipped this around a little bit.
There you go. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So I'm just gonna brush the marinade on top of the burgers. Get these in the oven. Move over to Eggville, and before you know it, we'll be having our early bird dinner.
Love it. Yes, this is definitely. Appreciate you cooking dinner at 4 p.m. your time.
Oh, it's wonderful.
So has it been hotter than usual where you are as well?
Yes, it's been incredibly hot. This morning, Melanie and I went for a run, and it was 90 degrees and 190% humidity, and I mean it's been super hot. All right, so now I'm going to move us over to the stove. I think I'm going to just take you guys with me.
Yeah.
So careful. This is going to be super dramatic. This is what we figured out. Hang on. I'll maybe flip you up a little bit. And there we go. All right. Do I have you with me? There we go.
Yeah, we're still with you. This is nice. We're getting a tour of your house. I like your dining room table. Looks nice. I like those chairs a lot.
Oh, so that. Well, let me tell you a bit about that. Well, before I put it in, I'm going to show you.
I can tell this could be like the next show. It's like a live stream version of MTV Cribs or something.
Right. Yeah. No, it's just very. I can't even figure this out. Everything's backwards or upside down. That table belonged to my grandparents. The table
sweet.
and chairs, and I've had it since college, and I've moved it around everywhere with me. It's really cool, like 50s dinettes.
Totally, it's amazing.
Yeah. So it's got sentimental value. It's been with me a long time.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
it's sentimental and super cool at the same time.
and also very cool. Okay, so here we go. Hopefully, it's not going to be quite as dramatic as our other version. Our tech team is struggling with the mic stand a little bit, but okay, there we go. How's that?
That's great.
All right, cooking. Sweet. What you know? What? Me?
You're all right. It's okay. The halo effect was nice. It was okay.
Okay. All right. So burgers are going in. Like I said, roughly 4 minutes. I'll put a timer on just so we have one. But again, it's probably about as long as it's going to take you to fry the eggs anyway.
And you would recommend broiling them or at 525 in the oven versus is grilling this not a good idea for this recipe?
So I think grilling it is probably fine, but I haven't tried it yet. And part of the thing is when you put the marinade in the burgers, they get pretty soupy. So they're going to have to be on a flat surface anyway.
Gotcha. Right. I was just thinking about how hot it is there and how you've had your oven on at 525 for the past 45 minutes.
It's okay. It's I've been cooking all weekend, and it's just one of those. You take one for the team and do it.
Well, we appreciate it.
Yeah, and now I'm going to stand over the gas cooktop too, on top of it. So yeah, I'm going to fry 3 eggs, and I kind of have been doing them for this recipe over medium, so they're still kind of runny, and it just sort of adds to all the awesomeness of the burger.
I think that's key too.
I don't think you can do it wrong. There's no way to do this incorrectly. Any egg will do. You could probably scramble an egg and put it on there. It would all be good. We have a really awesome we have several egg poachers if you don't want to do it the old-fashioned way. Like this one just goes in the microwave for 30 seconds and makes perfect poached eggs. And,
oh, that's cool.
And I imagine that would be pretty yummy on there too.
I think the runny yolk is important for something like this, where you want that as part of the texture of the meal, right. The way that the mouth feel.
Yeah. So Adam, what about you guys? Are you also getting back into a full touring situation or dipping your toes in?
We're dipping our toes in for this summer. So yeah, we're doing a show in the Burlington area, Shelburne Museum.
Oh, cool.
Like next week. And then we're playing Red Rocks, which is our first time headlining Red Rocks, July 25th. And it's sold out, and it's with the Colorado Symphony Orchestra. So that's going to be super fun.
That is so cool.
So that'll be super fun. And it's a little scary because we've never headlined that venue. And that's a big show for us to kind of come back from a 18-month, pause. But it'll be all right.
You guys have done symphony shows before, correct?
We have, yeah. We've done probably a little bit more than a handful of them now. This might be our 7th or something like that. So we've done them. We have great charts that we're excited about.
Right, that was going to be my next question. So now that all the sheet music is there, can you kind of walk in and just do a day or two of rehearsal, and Denver Symphony, DSO is just going to be ready to go because they're pros and they've had the music and time to prepare. And
that's the idea.
Okay.
It often works. Honestly, like one of our biggest career highlights shows of all time happened right before the shutdown. It was with the Omaha Symphony, and it was like, the hardest part of the show is like I was getting so overwhelmed emotionally. I was like getting choked up, and it was hard to sing because it just was it was like one of those moments where like, oh my God. So it was, we're super excited about it, and that'll be a really fun way to get back in. And then next year we'll be announcing, we'll be hitting the road more on a consistent basis starting in early 22.
That's fantastic. So I don't know if you probably can't, but I'm going to show you. My eggs are 2/3 of the way done, and there's our timer. So like I said, it's just about right.
Nice. Something I've been doing with eggs that I learned to do, like to just have them like over, if you want to go even less than, like not over, but just sunny side up, is you just put a little water in there and to steam them and put a lid on. And it steams, it cooks the top of it with the steam, but still leaves it nice and soft on the inside. And that was a nice little trick I learned on the YouTubes.
Oh yeah, so these are getting really good now. Also, I'll show you the burgers. They've been in there for about 4 minutes, and they're just starting to brown on top.
Yeah, those look amazing.
Really juicy, lots of flavor. The smell is fantastic. So now is a great time to add some cheese and kick them back in if you want. And so what I'm going to do is put cheese on half of them, and then put move the other patties over and do the stack, and then put them back in for a little bit, and see where we wind up.
Awesome. So you're actually gonna stack them?
Yes.
Ooh, double burger.
Yes.
Wow, I like it.
Yeah.
Someone is asking. Ian Quinn is asking what poster is hanging across from the range.
Oh, that's a Fare Thee Well poster.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, one of the ones we actually got it when we were there. It's one of the foil posters from the
cool.
event. Yeah.
Old Terrapin Station. That's
yeah.
Cool.
That was a phenomenal event. I can't say enough. As a fan, it was everything I could have hoped for and more.
And you've played with Phil Lesh, right? You've done some Phil Lesh and Friends gigs?
Sure. Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to play with all of those guys at this point, and it's just one of those things that along the way, and I'm sure you found this too. When you start doing this, that's not the plan.
Right.
Certainly, it might be the dream, but it's not the plan. And I'm going to cut this and just move this over. Your career just starts to move along, and it's just a series of baby steps. And one day it's Adam from Guster, and the next day it's Adam from Maroon 5. Or it just they sort of, not that I'm friends with Adam from Maroon 5, but I'm just saying these things tend to happen organically, and we've been very, very fortunate. But as a 16-year-old kid who was, again, just wide-eyed watching a band like the Grateful Dead play, and just wanting to see them more and more, I never thought in a million years I might call them a peer or a friend and get to play music with them. And I'm very, very fortunate that we do.
Yeah, that's so cool. The musical collaboration thing is that's how we know each other, right? Like through our ski band. Well, no, that's not true. We know each other because Guster and Mo have played together, so we go way back. But how we've reconnected more recently was through the funny little ski band. Not even funny. It's quirky and it's really weird, but it's also very real and a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So it's called Yukon Cornelius. I think the first time you came into it, it was a wild cast of characters, right? We had Sebastian Bach from Skid Row, and we had Dee Snider from Twisted Sister. And you had and who else was in it? Warren DeMartini,
right? Yeah.
From Rat. Yeah. And then Ed from Bare Naked Ladies and Stefan from Dave Matthews Band, and just and a bunch of folks, actually a number of folks who've been on this live cooking show too. Chad from Dispatch, Mark from OAR. It's such a wild. That first time was I think you had the hardest job of that weekend, because we assigned, of course, let's assign the hardest guitar part of all time. We thought it would be not a big deal, and then realized it is a big deal. It was it was the Guns N' Roses tune, right? It was Sweet Child of Mine. You had to play that lead part.
Right. It was the intro to Sweet Child of Mine, which sounds very simple, but it turns out it's this very strange thing where you skip all of the strings or whatever. And I think the whole thing was an exercise of some kind that Slash was just playing over and over and over and over again. Eventually they turned it into a song, but it's, it doesn't come naturally to a guitarist. So you have to play it over and over and over again.
In front of all these other musicians that are depending on you to play it, as well as the audience that doesn't know how hard it is to play.
Right, and everyone in the audience can play the air guitar part to that without screwing it up, and so you just have to make sure that you do your best as well. You
did it though. You rocked it. There was a couple nervous practices beforehand, but we did it.
No. Okay, so I've gone and pulled the burgers out at this point. And you can see we've got a pretty pretty healthy stack going here.
Wow.
Got our eggs, got our lettuce. So I'm going to plate all of this stuff while we're talking. I'm going to bring you back over here. Should we go for the full-on drama?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We want all the drama, and if you don't mind eating at least a bite of it, that's the vicarious bite is kind of how we kind of close off the show. So we need to do that as well.
All right. Well, here we go. So I have two kinds of lettuce here. We've got a red leaf lettuce and I don't know if this is butter or bib lettuce.
Both delicious.
Yes, we have a very, very dear friend. His name is Dan Button, and he has an organic farm called Gray Barn Farms. And he's always nice enough to, oh, this is super dramatic. He's always nice enough to help us kick off our garden. So he brings a bunch of seedlings and plants to sort of get us going. And in turn, we'll smuggle seeds home from various trips that Melanie and I take.
That's cool.
Yeah, so, we find like really good tomatoes in Italy and we'll bring them home and I save the seeds and then we kick them over to him and we're, just trying to pay it forward a little bit, I guess. Part of our seed smuggling operation. But don't tell TSA.
I was going to say.
All right, and so I'm going to go ahead and pop the egg on top right here while I can. I think I might have overdone the eggs a little bit while we were talking. I don't think anybody's going to care. I'm going to throw some of this mayo on there, which is amazing. The pickles, I'm just going to serve on the side. And then we've got our fabulous kimchi.
I am already so envious of what you're about to eat. It looks incredible. It looks amazing.
There we go. Oh, boy.
I envy us.
There we go. A couple of tomatoes on top. Give it a crack of black pepper. I don't know how I'm going to eat this thing. It looks amazing.
It looks incredible. Well, yeah, let's get a close-up of that. That looks unbelievable. Gorgeous. Well plated too, sir. Wow.
Okay, so let me see. I'll give the old college try. See what happens here. It's not going to be pretty.
That's all right.
But this is not food that's meant to be pretty. It's meant to be enjoyed.
That's right.
If I can get a decent bite out of this. Oh, there we go. It's all coming together. And get a little bit of the egg in there, a little bit of the kimchi, a little tomato, and I'm going to get a pickle on there because they're amazing.
I am definitely going to cook this next. All right, let's get the vicarious bite here. Al Schnier. Oh, there it is.
Oh, my God.
You seem surprised.
I'm such a good cook. It's delicious.
That is awesome. Thank you, Al, for doing the show. It's great to see your face. I'm sorry you're not able to see mine because of the technical difficulties, but I'm glad that we were able to talk and have you on the show. Definitely want to hang and talk and see you in real life as soon as possible. I want to thank Impossible Foods, Oxfam, Martin Guitars, Relics, WCLZ, the State Theater, and Defend Our Future for partnering with our show. And again, thanks again to Al Schnier of Mo. Go to their website, check out when they're playing next, see everything that he's talking about. If you haven't already seen and loved the band for 30 years, you should. For the next 30.
That's right. Thank you, Adam.
Yeah, thank you, guys. And if you're just tuned in, or if you want to see this whole episode or other episodes, go to reverb.org/quarantine-kitchen, or right here on Facebook. You can see it too. Al, stick around. We're going to say goodbye to the folks who are live watching us, but let's stay on, you and I, and we can talk a little after this.
Okay, sounds good.
Awesome. Bye, everybody.